safety of Houstonians is at risk. The department has taken trucks off the streets this weekend and limited the number of firefighters on duty. It's all because of HFD's ongoing budget troubles. The department is currently about $10 million over budget due to overtime to cover a staffing shortage. The Houston City Council is expected to make a final decision this week on whether to pull more than 10% of fire trucks and 10% of its crews from duty in order to make up the financial gap. The fire chief says there's no doubt in his mind response times will increase. Some on City Council aren't so sure the cuts will compromise public safety. So should HFD be held to its original budget or given more money to cover the overtime costs? And why aren't less critical services being cut first? We're debating the issue right now with your Sunday panel, and you can weigh in on our Facebook page or on Twitter. Want to welcome back our legal analyst Chris Tritico, our news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. All right, guys, so lots of angles with this story. Let's talk about the public safety one first. The fire chief says absolutely this is hurting already. They've taken some ambulances off the streets and a medic unit. Some on council, though, don't think that taking these vehicles out will really make a difference. What do you say?
Well, that's a dangerous game City Council's playing here to suggest that we don't think this is going to hurt. And the sad thing is when you learn that they took these ambulances from the more needy areas of town, the less prosperous areas of town, like people in River Oaks never or don't need it any more than the people in the poor parts of town. I didn't enunciate that very well, but City Council needs to stop and consider this, because it seems to me, Jackie Bally, that the better way to go here would be to fire those who can't control the overtime in the fire department, give them the money, replace the fire chief or whoever's responsible for this, and tell the person coming in, we're not going to play these games anymore. If you can't control your budget, we'll fire you too.
Exactly, and this is very disturbing, because you're seeing our public safety being compromised, and the impoverished areas or the areas of low income families, they're going to be the ones who are penalized because of this. The mayor has said, you know, you got yourself into this problem, you can get yourself out of it, but it's the residents and the citizens
who are suffering. It's on the backs of us, right?
Exactly, and you know, we are seeing an unexpected higher rate of property and sales taxes. We could cover some of the overruns that way, but whenever we talk about our public safety being compromised, this is a very bad problem.
You know, the fire chief's playing a pretty dangerous game with his job here, isn't he? He got us into this mess by not controlling the overtime the way it should have been. Now, coming out publicly and saying City Council needs to give us this money because City Council is costing people lives to be at risk.
Well, it's always difficult dealing with the fire department, and there are a lot of regulations in terms of the number of people you have to have on a truck and the union contract that exists. So it's a difficult balance for the fire chief, the mayor, the city council, and how this operates. What I'm looking forward to is what Councilman Stephen Costello is likely to do this week. He's about to present a plan, and in a letter to the editor, he talked about basically that 85% of calls that the fire department covers are not towards fires, but they're basically to EMTs. They're arriving because somebody had a heart attack, and in those situations you have two people show up rather than a fire truck. So his question really was that, are we deploying the resources the right way? And I think that's the heart of the challenge that we face, is that oftentimes we do things because we've been doing them the same way for a long time, without looking at some analysis and numbers to say maybe we need to change the way we do things to save money and also to improve service.
And probably too, look, and I want to come back to this because you were on City Council in Sugar Land. I want to come back from Sally, talk about the non-critical ways that we could have saved this money from the fire department. But Sally's looking at our social media.
Yeah, we have Cindy weighing in this morning. She says safety first. They need to give HFD more money to cover the cost. And Lee says we're cutting HFD, but a few weeks ago, some members of the Houston City Council got a raise, so that's what they're saying this morning.
Well, that wasn't City Council that got a raise. The mayor raised some of her upper
top staff, but I believe there were some members that got raises as well on City Council, Chris.
There's some point there.
Okay, well, that's apples and oranges, though. I mean, that's really not the issue as to whether or not City Council got a raise. But you know, you were on City Council in Sugar Land, and do you see council handling this the way it should be?
Currently, based on the reports we're getting, no. I think that there's some kind of miscommunication between the higher upper administration in the fire department and council. And to answer the other question that you asked, what we did during a budget downturn or economic downturn is that public safety, we made sure that anything they needed in the police and fire department, they stayed intact. And we made other cutbacks in other areas. I think maybe what one of the persons on social media was trying to say is, instead of giving raises to maybe higher administration, which is something we did not do, we had a hiring freeze, and we also made sure that certain people, if they were in the top 5 to 10%, that they did not get an increase for a couple of years if there was an economic downturn. Any open offices or vacancies, we would combine and make sure that those offices were still, we were still providing the same services to our constituents, and that saved a lot of dollars, and we transferred those dollars to the fire and the police departments.
Now, there's something to be said that council and the mayor's response, you did this, fire department, you figure it out.
Well, absolutely. They're supposed to manage those resources, and our city budget, about 2/3 of it is public safety, so it becomes very difficult. Where do you cut from? And holding the fire department accountable makes a lot of sense, because if they're the ones that have caused this, increase in overtime resources, we also have to ask them to kind of figure out, and what I think Councilman Costello is doing is the right path.
All right, we're going to have to leave it right there. Sally, we'll be back in the next hour with 2 really good stories.
All right, and a reminder, City Council expected to take this up this week, so we will definitely be there covering it and bring you the latest on that. Thanks, guys.